Sorry. Dear. Sorry. I'm going to quit this. All right. Good evening. My name's Paris. I want to start by acknowledging that I'm broadcasting to you from the lands of the Ngunnawal people. I acknowledge their continuing connection to country, and I acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. I pay respects to any elders, past or present, who might be joining, and to the traditional owners for wherever you are around the world watching this. So, my name's Paris. I learned to bake Banitsa from Bulgarians, from my partner who is from, and her mum who are from the Black Sea coast. Banitsa, if you've never tried it before, is a Bulgarian cheesy pie. Think of it as layers of lasagna, or a bit like lasagna, layers upon layers of filo pastry and white cheese and egg and some natural yogurt. Among other things. You might have, on the old stream link, included the recipe. I'll go through the ingredients again. The main thing you'll need is filo pastry. You'll probably go through a whole packet for this, depending on what sort of container you've got. Actually, let's just back that up. So if you have a baking tray, you can use a round dish. I'm used to using a round one. You can make it at any size you want. Any shape you want. The main thing is that you've got to have at least 5 centimeters thickness. This is about 7, I think. So make sure you've got a decent sized pan that will take a lot of depth to the cheesy pie. So you need, yes, filo pastry. Chilled is best. If you've got frozen, you can use it, but it's a lot harder. I've learned the hard way. Chilled is best if you've got that. So I got this from Woolies. It's a Antoniou brand. You'll need at least 4 eggs. You'll need at least 1 cup of Greek or natural yogurt. If you've got Bulgarian yogurt, lucky you. It's rare to get over here in Australia, but we can get the Bulgarian cheese. So a cup of this. You'll need also a pinch of bicarbonate soda. So, or baking soda if you've got that, because what will happen is you'll add the bicarb soda to the cup of yogurt and agitate it, and it will aerate the yogurt and make it taste very nice. You'll also need a third of a cup, of cooking oil. So whether that's a vegetable oil, such as canola oil or olive oil, that will work as well. And you'll also need a little bit of butter or Nuttelex or some sort of margarine on the top, at the end of the process once we finish making the layers, so that you can, it'll add a nice golden color to it, to the top. I'm just going to get the cheese now. move this over a bit. Sorry. And of course, the main ingredient is feta cheese, or as we call it in Bulgarian, sirene. It's a white cheese, a bit like, well, think of it as feta cheese, but the Bulgarians don't call it feta. It's sirene. It's a white cheese. So this, I picked this up in Canberra. This is a Bulgarian brand. You can get some that are made from sheep's milk, some that are made from cow's milk. Just as long as it's salty, a Greek feta will be fine as well. Excuse me. I've screwed up the broadcast. All right, beg your pardon. I thought if I scheduled the live stream from YouTube Studio, that it would automatically broadcast at the correct time if I just hit go live, but it turns out I need to connect something else to it, which is infuriating. Anyway, I should have done my homework. So I'm just going to wait for a few more people to join me. If you have any questions, if you've missed some of the instructions so far, just put them in the chat. I'll go over them again, or happy to answer any question that I can. By now, you should have your oven turned on. If you've got a forced fan oven, it should be 170 degrees. If it's not force fanned or fan forced, turn it to about 190. And by the time you finish making the layers, it'll be a nice heat. Hang on a sec. Sorry about that. Let me know if you can hear me okay, because I can't hear anything. I can just hear the hum of the oven. All right, so what you need to do first is break your eggs into your mixing bowl. So you're going to need a mixing bowl. You're going to need the pan, at least a deep pan. It doesn't need to be rounded and spring form. It just needs to be at least 5 centimeters deep. And if you've got a baking tray, that'll be fine too. If it's a rectangular shape, that doesn't matter, just as long as there's depth to it. You're going to need also a tea towel, soak it in water, because what happens is you'll need to do 2 layers each time with the Fillo pastry, the chilled Fillo pastry. And to make sure it doesn't dry out while you're preparing it, you need to keep it wet. All right, so we'll start breaking the eggs. Thank you, Caravana. I'll keep this on as long as I can. All right, so break your eggs. And try not to get the eggshells. The Bulgarian word for egg is yaitsa. And if you're wondering, if you're joining us and you're wondering how to pronounce the dish you're making, it's Banitsa. Not Banitsa. I used to call it Banitsa, but that starts fights. It's Banitsa. So it's a hard B, short A, Banitsa. And it's a very versatile dish. You can make it sweet or savory. You can have all sorts of fillings inside it. This one's going to be the vegetarian one. It's not a gluten-free dish. It's not a vegan dish, but this particular option is vegetarian. And it will, this one's just with cheese, but you can add meat to it. You can add sweet things to it as well. That changes the consistency a little bit, changes the flavor, obviously, but you can also make it with pumpkin, but then it's called tikvinik if you don't add cheese to it. So you're going to need a fork, and you'll need a teaspoon as well. So what you want to do is beat your eggs. And of course, if we had high production values, we'd have a camera mounted on the ceiling or a second camera here, but we don't. So beat your egg in your bowl, 4 eggs minimum. If you like more eggs, then go nuts. Now grab your white cheese, your feta cheese, as long as it's not Danish, nothing against the Danes, but you will need a salty cheese. So this is Rodope. It's a Bulgarian brand, but Greek cheese, Greek feta cheese will be great. Sorry, I've just got a missed call. I think, oops, sorry, live TV. Woo! Right, sorry. Wrong link. Try that. Sorry. I beg your pardon. That. Sorry. Whoops. Sorry about this. My family is waiting on the other. Echo. Sorry. My family is waiting on the other room because I got the link wrong for the broadcast. Sorry about that. Okay. So I hope there will be no more interruptions, but feel free to ask questions if you've missed any instructions in the chat. We'll get cranking on the yogurt soon. Okay, so you need a minimum of 150 grams of cheese. If you have more than that, that's great. It'll just intensify the flavor. So I just used up the last that I had in the container, which might be 150 grams. Anyway, that's all I got. I'm going to use it. If you have, if you don't mind getting your fingers dirty, you can break it up with your fingers, or you could just use a fork. I'm going to mix it into your eggs. The more cheese, the better, I've found. Okay, so mix up your cheese. You can put that away. Now, you'll need your yogurt for this next stage. So as long as it's a natural yogurt, if it's got any sweetener in it, it's going to taste terrible. So for this next bit, you'll need 1 cup of 1 measuring cup worth of yogurt, and we'll get to the olive oil in a second. Now, obviously with baking, there's lots of different ways to get to the same destination. So the original method, when I was taught to make this, the original method said that I should add oil to each stage. You could brush the oil over the top of the layers of Fillo. But to me, that took too long. I could spend that time eating Banitsa. So I just improvised once and put the Banitsa, put the yogurt in put the olive oil all in together and mixed it all up, and the result was the same. So just try that. So the thing to remember now with the next step, with your Greek or natural yogurt in your cup, you need to get bicarb soda. Now, it is crucial, and it's the technique that will ensure the light and fluffiness of the Banitsa. So Maminka, my partner's maternal grandmother insists that this step cannot be omitted, and she's right, because if you don't do it this way, you're not going to get the fluffiness of the Banitsa. So I'm just going to put some stuff in the fridge. No, actually, sorry, I'll just put that away to the side. What you need to do, grab a pinch of your bicarb soda. You can get half a teaspoon worth, for example. But what you need to do is make, or you can just shake a little bit out of the box, that's fine. Sorry, Mark, I missed you the wrong stream. So what did you miss? Lots of waffling on my part. I went through the ingredients. So if you're late to this, what you need is chilled Fillo pastry. Make sure it's not frozen Fillo pastry. You're going to need 4 eggs. You're going to need bicarb soda. You're going to need 1 cup of Greek yogurt. Minimum 150 grams, all the more the better, feta cheese. No, I'm not making my own Fillo, but I have seen a YouTube recipe of how to do it. So that might be a project for this weekend to see if I can do it. But yes, lots of Bulgarian households will make their own Fillo pastry. Just supermarket nonsense. What are you talking about? They'll make it themselves, and the quality is probably better. What sort of an elderly grandpa am I? One that doesn't wear a hat, or doesn't wear a cap. I wear one that covers my ears. Anyway, yeah, you need minimum 150 grams of Bulgarian white cheese. Sirene, if you're inclined to use Bulgarian when you're ordering your cheese. If you're wondering where you can get a Bulgarian cheese in Australia, your local deli may have it, but if you try Coles, they have Kerbia brand Bulgarian white cheese in their deli section, where they have the fancy cheeses next to the Greek and the Danish yogurts and so on, not necessarily staffed by people, but Woolies has similar brands as well, but they're sold out at the moment. I just checked before I started this. And if you're in Canberra, if you go to the Food Forum in Westfield, Belconnen, or the Deli Cravings in Belconnen, and also the Nut Shop in Fishwick Fresh Markets. They used to have some before the pandemic, but I haven't been out there for more than a year. But you can get Bulgarian cheese. But as I mentioned, if you can't find Bulgarian cheese, just get Greek or Australian feta, as long as it's salty. The crucial thing is it has to be a salty cheese. If you get Danish, it's a nice smooth feta, which works for some dishes, but it doesn't work for Banitsa. I've tried it, and the results will look the same, but the texture and the taste, it's underwhelming, shall we say. All right, so we're up to now adding the yogurt. Now you want to grab the bicarb soda. You want to make a little trough or a little hole in the top of the yogurt, or you can mix it in, but you want a little pinch. If it falls out of the box and it's a block, then that's good. Come on. People are waiting. All right. A little bit more. Whoa, too much. You could use it to clean your kitchen bench if you get too much as well. All right. Okay, so I'm going to hold this up. So what you want is, with your teaspoon, you want to stir it in and just cut it in. Well, and as you might be able to hear that, but it'll start to get a lot fluffier. So you want to aerate your natural yogurt all the way through. And it'll get nice and light and fluffy. So you want to see lots of bubbles. And you'll know it when it's starting to work, because the sound will change and you'll start to see the holes through it, or the aerated bubbles. And then just put that in. Mix it in. All right, so we're adding 1 cup of natural yogurt. Let me know if the microphone is distorting or if it's brushing against things, and I'll unplug it. Don't have a wireless mic yet. Oh, I realize I have a lapel mic. Anyway. Okay, so mix that in. Now, mixing that in with the rest of the ingredients, I'm probably going to need to add, no, I won't. I was going to say I'd need to add a little bit more yogurt. There's nothing wrong with going over, a little bit overboard, adding a little bit more than a cup if you feel you like the taste. But you need to thoroughly mix it with the egg and with your 4 eggs and with your white cheese. And you also are going to need 1/3 of a cup of oil. The oil can be whatever you prefer to cook with. For today's purposes, we've got a canola oil. You could also use olive oil. I probably should be playing Bulgarian radio in the background, shouldn't I? All right, so mix that all in. Okay. Just going to put some stuff in the fridge. All right, mix that up. Put some of your things away. Now you're going to, for this next step, you're going to need a knife, and you're going to need your tea towel that's been soaked in water. Now, all right, so now open your packet of Fillo pastry. And what you'll need to do for this, thanks, Mark. I wasn't sure what was in shot, so I made sure I did the washing up before. When I was testing the camera, you couldn't see that much of the kitchen. All right, so rolling out the Fillo pastry now. This is such a lovely product to work with. So depending on the shape of your tray, your baking tray, if it's long enough, you'll be able to use the whole thing. But chances are it's not, and so you're going to need to cut it, which is where I mentioned the knife before, and also the you'll want to cut it in half, and you'll also want to either refrigerate the other half of the Fillo, so put it back in its plastic bag and chill it, or you could cover it with a tea towel. But the main thing is you don't let it dry out. So you're going to come back to this later, because I generally use a whole box of Fillo. Let's put that there and under my rack. All right. So I have a question. Comes from the Greek philo, which means to love, as an expression. I sure do. Unreal. Thank you, Mark. Ladies and gentlemen, Legal Reckoning for all your legal needs. Check out his YouTube channel. He explains complicated legal topics in a very easy to understand fashion, so easy that even former journalists like myself can follow along. You'll learn a lot more from Legal Reckoning's videos explaining the law in Australia than you would from certainly from following any journalist, most of the journalists' explanations of what happened in a court case or a particular legal topic which is being debated. Legal Reckoning. Search it now. Follow him on Twitter. All right. Gosh, that's oily. I have a feeling I may have got my combinations wrong. Anyway, too late now. We'll see what that tastes like later. All right, so your batter should look a little bit like that. Make sure you've mixed it all together. And then you get your baking dish. And the layering, this is the layering part now where I mentioned at the start that it's a bit like lasagna. or making of lasagna. So you want to grab your sheets and lay them down. The trick for Banitsa is it has to be 2 layers on the bottom, or 2 layers as you go. So I'm about to unplug this mic because it's going to continue getting dirty. So I'll try to speak louder if you can't hear me. Excuse me. Stay.